yes, we're back. Roshfooco watches and things. And I'm really excited about today's one, guys. Today we've got an absolute stunner. Mid-90s Seiko. It's the Seiko H021-8030 Macchina Sportiva. I think that means sports car in Italian. World time watch. And it's funny. We do it in our lives sometimes. We do it with people. We do it with places. We do it with situations that we're in. Sometimes you don't even know you're looking for it, but when you find it, you know it's the one. And one day a few months ago, I was scrolling through eBay listings, wasting my time, being a capitalist mug. And I saw this watch and I said, I've got to have it. I just got to have it. And here it is. So apparently this was a very limited production run from Seiko in the mid-90s. I think, if my information is correct, that it was only produced in 96, 97, and that's it. Although when you do reset the functions on the watch, the kind of go-to date, the baseline date is 1994, so who knows. Anyway, what I do know is when they were first released, they were retailing at £599. That kind of bad boy quartz technology that, is much maligned, but when it's done in such a package, mate, it's a classic. We'll get into it. So what we're saying here, across the bezel, 37 across the bezel. If you're looking at its widest point, 41.7, so decent size. Log to log, 44. Although if you include these proprietary armadillo lugs, it could be extended up to 54, which is rather wide, 13mm thick, and it being Seiko, 14mm lug openings onto those jointed or hinged armadillo lugs. So strap options are obviously going to be pretty difficult for this one. All stainless steel construction, bezel, case, pushers, screw down case back, sapphire crystal. I think what Seiko like to call Saflex. 200-meter water resistance. Pretty impressive considering the amount of holes that cut in the case. The strap is a replacement. It's a new replacement that's been cut to fit those 14mm lug openings. It is close to an original kind of shark grain strap that the designers of this watch, they made one that's very similar in the same Macchina Sportiva lineup that had a strap very similar to this one. I think originally this one came on a bracelet, I'm not 100% sure. In 96, I was just finishing sixth form college, and I had, I certainly didn't have £599 to spend on a watch, and I think I was rocking a Armani, possibly counterfeit watch back in those days. You live and you learn. It's got a pretty substantial, almost like a horse's hoof, branded Seiko buckle. I mean, that's quality. That's a serious bit of kit. I like that a lot. And considering its age, 1996, it's in pretty good condition. I did pay £190 sterling for this one, but like I say, when I saw it, I was like, mate, I'm having it. I'm just buying it. Can't man, what's 190 quid? Okay, it might go a long way to paying your rent, but this is a classic. So let's get in a little closer. We've got a fixed, a little bit faded now, but a fixed world time bezel. We've got a kind of interesting, unusual ellipsoid shape to the case. And now I'm not sure, I'm not a designer, but I think perhaps kind of bowing it out kind of makes it a bit squatter visually, considering, as we said, with those armadillo lugs, it could be as much as 54mm lug to lug. So by squatting out, that kind of watch head, watch face makes it a little smaller to the eye. I would suggest, in my layman, through my layman's eyes, what I do know is it's got this lovely flowing design down to the lugs. That's done with real panache. Beautiful curvature to the case. Really lovely. I mean, that's ergonomically designed for the wrist. Love that. And then we've got these kind of fluted or ridged or furrowed parts to the bezel at the 3 and the 9 that give it this kind of fantastic transverse design in two planes. So it kind of goes this way and it goes that way. Very similar lines through two different planes. And that's pure class. Coming to the face a bit, we've got analog hands. We've got 4 small digital displays. We've got a cracking palette of colours. That vibrant orange and blue. We've got an applied Seiko underneath the marker at 12 o'clock. We've got interesting hour indexes, and you can see, hold on, let's see if I've got something here to point it out. These markers here at the 4, the 5, the 7 and the 8 have been reduced in size to accommodate that larger digital panel in the lower half of the dial. We've got a pretty unique handset there. Not sure what to call those ones. Segmented, well, they kind of look a bit like intercontinental ballistic missiles. So here we are, I'm calling them missile hands. The second hand being that kind of reverse lollipop that is reminiscent of lots of Seiko divers from the period, from the 80s, from the 90s. Digital displays, so in its kind of standby mode, we've got the day and the date. Press any button and you get the month, and you'll get the digital time. Now, what button do we go from here? Well, we're going to use this button here. I don't know what to call it, so let's call it Vancouver, shall we? So we're going to use Vancouver to scroll through the features, time, world time, stopwatch, alarm 1, alarm 2, back to time. In our world time, here, you're going to use Istanbul to scroll through the different time zones. At the moment, it's on GMT. That's quite a cool feature. In this left-hand panel, it's showing that GMT is 4 hours behind where I am now. Here is our GMT time at the main digital screen. So as we scroll across, Paris, Rome, Berlin. Now, imagine I was going to Berlin on business and I wanted to reset my home time to Berlin. Well, easy, innit? Of course it is. We're going to press Bangkok and we're going to hold Bangkok. Here you go. And now, look at my main analog hands. We're going to Bangkok. Sorry, we're going to Berlin. It's a fairly laborious task, but give them a break. 25 years old. 8:06. There we are. So now I'm in Berlin, and if I scroll through the other features, get back to my home screen, now I'm on Berlin time. Of course, I'm not in Berlin, so I'm gonna get back to where I am now, and that's just gonna reset through to there as well. I mean, it's pretty classy, isn't it? I like it. Pretty slow, but life was slower in the 90s. We didn't need this instant gratification that we need now. There we go, sorted. So let's move on. Stopwatch. Start and stop, Istanbul. Okay, reset, Bangkok. Done. We've got 2 alarms. They can be set independently of one another. If you read the manual, it's got something to do with different time zones for the setting. I don't understand, I don't know, I don't really care. Use your phone for an alarm. And we're back to our home screen. So, goodness me, what a watch. Just an absolute classic. I love it. But, of course, there are some negatives, or potential negatives. The first one is the colour scheme. Obviously, colours that are as bold as this are very subjective. I like them. I think they're fantastic. I'm a big fan of orange watches. Some other people may not like that. The other thing, which you can't blame it for a mid-90s quartz watch, is that it only has a 2-year battery life. And that's probably best case scenario. You can see that I love fucking around with the world time, changing those hands. It's not going to last 2 years for me. No way. If only it was solar. If only we could go back and put solar technology into those early watches. That'd be fantastic. And the other thing, perhaps you've noticed as I've been playing with it, these lugs. Fantastic lugs. But that one is completely frozen solid, completely stuck, whereas the other one hinges and moves for greater comfort. Now, of course, this was an eBay sale, so the seller did not mention the fact that one of the lugs was stuck. Hopefully, I can loosen it up somehow and get that moving. I've only had this a little while because of my situation. I buy things on eBay and I don't see them for months on end, so It's not like I can go back, neither would I, but you know, it's not like I can go back and refund after months after buying it. So that is a bit of a drag because it's just not as kind of ergonomic as it should be. Having said that, the positives outweigh the negatives by a mile. The positives for me are all the different functions, especially the world time one, because I work abroad in different time zones. The lugs, well, certainly the one that works, what great technology that is. Hinging articulated lugs to fit the wrist better. Speaking of fitting the wrist better, let's stick it on, shall I? Can't believe I haven't done that for the whole video. So 41.7 at its widest point, and mate, was it made to go on my wrist? Seiko, did you make it to go on my wrist in 1996 when I was a little punk finishing sixth form college? That is just to die for. Love it. But the main thing, the main pro for this watch, and bear with me here, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Look at the styling. Look at that bright orange face. Look at that ridged bezel. Look at those hour markers. Does it remind you of anything? Certainly reminds me of something. And it reminds me of none other than my favourite watch in the world, the Gen 2 Orange Monster. Ridged bezel, okay, slightly different, but following the same theme. Orange face, shark tooth markers. Do you know what I mean? If they were designed independently of one another, then there's a fair amount of coincidence gone into that. And if we look on the back of the Macchina Sportiva, this one might interest you, because on the back, mate, is it a Giugiaro design? Is the famed Generation 2 Orange Monster a derivative design from everyone's favourite car/watch designer, Giugiaro? Mate, you can call me crazy. I think there's something in that. And I've never heard anybody say it before, but I'm saying it now. The SRP 309 is a direct descendant of the Giugiaro designed Seiko Macchina Sportiva H021-8030. Boom, there you go, take that one with you. What we doing volume on this? Yep, nice. 25 years old, still rocking it good. Can't argue with that. Choice. It has been my absolute pleasure to bring this one to you guys. The Seiko World Time Macchina Sportiva, vintage 1996 model. I'm Roshfooco Watches and Things. This is one of my new utter favourites, and I'm out.